you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego. And in today's MEGAphone episode, we will be shouting out one of my favorite podcast follows. He's an entrepreneur, a documentary filmmaker. He's also the CEO of Dr. Mark Hyman Enterprises and the Ultra Wellness Center. We've shouted out those people before, but this guy, his podcast, it used to be called the Broken Brain Podcast, but now it's simply his name, the Dhru Purohit Podcast. Dhru Purohit. Yep. He sent out a newsletter addressing an issue that I, myself, am all too familiar with. Chronic joint pain. Joint pain. The bane of my existence. I'd like to share with you what he wrote in this article. Now, I've dealt with chronic knee pain in the past, so I know firsthand how frustrating it can be. I've dealt with all sorts of chronic pain. For me, I believe it's because I overtrained and I under-recovered. I still probably do that a little bit today. I also, in the past, underate the types of foods that would allow me to support the soft connective tissue as well as the bones and other material that are needed in order to make strong, healthy joints. Now, I blame my pain on, it's just because I'm an athlete and I'm putting a bunch of miles on my body. I blamed it on, that's just the price that you pay for an active lifestyle. Yet I see so many other people who are just as active as me and even more active with higher stresses on their joints than I've ever done, who do not have these issues. Maybe it's few and far between, but it's possible. Normal wear and tear, quote unquote, normal wear and tear, that might not just do justice in explaining what's going on here. But luckily, there are the things that we can do to combat these so-called normal wear and tear on our joints, and specifically our knee joints, which happens to so many of us as we age. Today in this episode, Dhru will be highlighting a few studies that show how strength training and how supplements can help relieve joint pain and discomfort, as well as improve mobility and the quality of life. And we will conclude by describing to you his quote-unquote, try this protocol, try this, which features supplements and gentle mobility exercises and some additional strengthening and support exercises that you can do to help alleviate joint pain. So let's jump right in with study number 1, which in my opinion is one of the most important things that we can do for our joints and is a necessary part of any joint health protocol. Study number 1 is titled Home Exercise Therapy for Muscle Strength and Joint Flexibility. Exercise can have an incredible impact on the strength and function of our joints. In this study, 52 patients with knee osteoarthritis were randomly assigned to an at-home multiple exercise program and an at-home single exercise program. So 2 different groups, one had multiple exercises, one had a single exercise. And these programs were geared towards strengthening their leg with knee pain. Now, in the multiple exercise group, physical therapists selected 3 exercises for each participant. We'll talk about these exercises in the Try This protocol at the end of this podcast. The control group followed a single chair sitting exercise for their quadriceps muscle, their thigh muscle. Participants did 3 sets of 10 reps for each exercise, and they did 5 times per week this protocol. So 5 days a week, and they did this for a month. 3 different sets of 10 reps for each exercise. At the end of the 4 weeks, the multiple exercise group reported significant improvements in their daily living and in the impact of their knee pain on their overall health. So the multiple exercise group reported that it felt less painful and they had better quality of life due to doing these exercises. This particular study shows that how powerful movement can be for strengthening our joints. The stronger joints, mean less joint pain, which means we can have a greater quality of life and continue to do the things that we love and the things that make us happy. Your joints, for the most part, can be thought of as a connection between two moving areas of the body, like a hinge on a door or a ball and socket. But all around that joint, there are connective tissues. You have ligaments, tendons, muscles, you have fascia. And the stronger those tissues are around that joint, the more that they can help support that joint. For example, I personally know both athletes and non-athletes that have completely torn their ACL in their knee, and they did not have surgery to repair it. Their verbiage is, quote, I have no ACL. I have no ACL. Yet they are still walking because they have enough soft tissue and muscles around that joint to help stabilize and support the joint without one of the four major ligaments. Now, could their knee joint be stronger if they had that fourth ligament? Yes, but it proves that if you are able to strengthen the other muscles, you can bring up a lagging area. You also have to consider muscular imbalances around the joint. Let's look at your knee, for example. If you look at your knee and you had a really tight inner thigh muscle, also called your adductor, if you had really tight inner thigh muscles, and then on the outside of your hips, you had weak outside muscles, like your glute medius, which is on the outside of your hip, like the side booty. Also another muscle called your TFL, which is connected to your IT band, so it's up there on the hip on the outside. But if those muscles on the outside are weak and elongated, long, and the muscles on the inside are tight and short, this could cause that knee to be slightly pulled inward, collapsing the knee toward the middle of your body. So think like knock knees, which causes that knee to drift out of alignment. And now on top of that, you put thousands and thousands of weight-bearing reps while you're walking, jogging, whatever it is that you're doing. You're putting thousands of reps weight-bearing with that slight deviation towards the middle of your body. This is a disaster scenario in terms of stressing that joint. When a joint is stressed, your body wants to protect. What happens? The signal of protection is usually pain, because we listen to pain. You can see how maybe strengthening and balancing the muscles on the outside of the hip could have an impact on creating a more aligned knee joint, and then have a huge impact on the journey to having pain-free knees or joints. One more thing about strengthening the soft tissue and supporting your knee joints, and really any joints. Isometric training is one of the best ways to put load on these tissues without doing too much damage. The more you load and the more that you train these tissues to tolerate that load, the stronger and more resilient they're going to be. I highly recommend, if you don't already, following Knees Over Toes Guy on Instagram. Knees Over Toes Guy. His name's Ben Patrick, and his team is called, I believe they call themselves the ATG, the Athletic Training Group. They really have some of the best content on strengthening bothersome joints. They have a lot of free content, and they have like a few fundamental movements that everyone should be doing to get out of joint pain. For me, myself, I've actually started walking backwards and backward sled pulling because of them. They have programs called Reverse Out of Knee Pain and other things like that that you can purchase, but a lot of their content is also free. Backward hill walking is a fantastic exercise with little to no risk, but has amazing benefits for knee pain and freeing knee pain. So isometric, those are other things that you can do. What is isometric? Isometric would be things like wall sits, where your hips are just slightly higher than your knees, and you sit up against a wall, your knees slightly higher above 90 degrees. And then you just hold that, and you load that patella ligament in the front of your knee. And this is a fantastic way to help strengthen the tissue around the knee joint without doing a bunch of reps like squats or leg extensions or anything like that. Another way you can do that is, speaking of leg extensions, is if you have a leg extension machine at your gym, you can extend your leg like 2/3 of the way up. Not all the way up, but maybe 60 to 75% of the way up. And just hold it there for time. So your leg's not all the way extended straight, but there's a tiny, 20, 30 degree bend in that knee. That's a great way to target the tissues and the ligament around the knee. Man, I could say a whole lot more on that, but for the purpose of today's episode, let's move on to the next study. This one talks about a specific type of collagen we can ingest in order to help rebuild and strengthen our specific joint tissue. So exercises, I'll show you a little bit at the end of this episode what I'm talking about, but think isometric, static holds, and then think backwards walking and trying to figure out how you can strengthen knees over toes. Follow knees over toes guy. Moving on to study number 2. Study number 2 is about type 2 collagen. Type 2 collagen is most known for its ability to help repair joint damage and reduce joint pain. In this randomized controlled trial, 55 healthy subjects between the ages of 30 and 65 with knee pain were randomly assigned to take this type 2 collagen. The other group was assigned a placebo. They did this once daily for a full 120 days. At the end of this 120 days, at the end of the trial, the type 2 collagen group experienced significant improvements in knee extension. That's where the range of the motion, where the knee, if you're sitting down and you extend your leg all the way straight and it's out in front of you, they were able to do this at a further range of motion with less pain. They were also able to walk at a fast pace for longer before experiencing the joint pain discomfort. So they had less pain, more range of motion, and they could walk longer. Performance was increased. This study displays that the benefits of type 2 collagen for improving joint discomfort and flexibility, which could be due to its ability to repair the cartilage and reduce the inflammation of that joint. Type 2 collagen is found in an abundance in chicken collagen. So a supplement such as chicken bone broth or chicken protein powder is a great source. In addition, chicken collagen also contains 2 popular remedies for joints and arthritis: chondroitin sulfate and glucosamine sulfate. A lot of times on supplement packages, you'll see chondroitin and glucosamine. And I don't know why it really took me this long to realize, why it took me this long to put it together, but I don't think I'm the only one. It seems so simple when you say it, but I know that just from talking to people that this isn't really how we put everything together as a society. We've all heard the phrase, we are what we eat. You are what you eat. But really stop to think about that. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? When you see that skin, hair, your eyes, your teeth, when you see all of that was created by the stuff that you put in your mouth. Your food was broken down into tiny little amino acid proteins, the molecular building blocks of tissue, and then your body somehow put together all these tiny little proteins and amino acids that once was chicken, fish, beans, rice. That all got put back together to make what you're looking at in the mirror what it is. That is the most magical, insane thing that I could possibly think of. So if you have a structural issue in your painful joints, if it's structural, like worn down joints or brittle bones or micro tears or whatever it is, then the stuff that you put in your mouth consistently is going to rebuild and make whatever it is that you need. So whatever you put in your mouth consistently should be a huge focus of yours. So if we're in constant chronic pain, if we're struggling with joint deterioration or weakening joints, then let's start eating natural whole foods that help strengthen the individual parts that make up the joint and supplementing with the correct micronutrients when necessary. The best natural whole foods for healthy joints include seeds and nuts. Seeds and nuts are packed with healthy omega-3 fatty acids known to fight inflammation and help reduce inflammation in your connective tissues and joints. Great options for seeds and nuts include almonds, walnuts, pine nuts, Brazil nuts, flax, and chia seeds. Those are just a few examples. Other foods like cold water fish. These offer an excellent source of omega-3 fatty acids too. Beyond reducing inflammation, these nutrients can lower the risk of diabetes, heart disease, and other health conditions on top of it. So you can add fish such as halibut, tuna, salmon, or trout to your diet, as well as a daily fish oil supplement. Just make sure that the fish that you get is the right kind of fish that doesn't have high in mercury, right? It's so something more like farm-raised fish or fish that you can get local to where you're living. Fruit. Many fruits have powerful antioxidants that reduce inflammation in the body, which help alleviate joint pain. Again, we've talked about blueberries. Blueberries are one that I have just a strong love for. They have flavonoids that turn the inflammatory response in your body off. We've talked about blueberries so many times on this podcast that you're probably getting tired of it. I have decided to consume 1 to 2 cups of blueberries every single day. I highly recommend the same for everyone else that I talk to when it comes about fruits and nutrition and trying to get those antioxidants in your diet. They're a superfood. They're delicious. Why not? Blueberries, eat them. Pineapple. Pineapple also contains a strong element called bromelain, which is shown to relieve joint pain that comes from rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. Tomatoes. Tomatoes have an antioxidant called lycopene that provides improvements for this physical health concern as well. But I myself, I don't really like tomatoes. I try to stay away from most of the nightshades, mostly because I'm picky and I don't like them, but also because I think I ate this like tomato drink type thing once and it really, really messed me up. So like I just stay away from them anyway. I don't like them and they didn't make me feel good. So, I have my own biases there. But it has that antioxidant lycopene in it, which may be a reason for you to eat them. Cruciferous veggies. Gosh, they're good for everything. Dang it. Cruciferous veggies include Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, and broccoli. Now, these foods have been found to block enzymes that result in swelling of the joints. They're also packed with a great dose of vitamins and minerals. There are a lot of good recipes that can make these taste great. You don't have to suffer if you don't like veggies like me. Message me and I can send you how we prepare the types of foods like Brussels sprouts, cauliflowers, and broccoli. They're not my favorite, but if they are prepared correctly, they can actually be a really good side dish. Also, beans and lentils. Beans and lentils, pinto beans, chickpeas, black beans, soybeans, and all the lentils, they include things called anthocyanins. And this is a flavonoid that helps reduce inflammation in your body. Beans and lentils also provide a great source of essential minerals, fiber, and protein. Next, olive oil. Olive oil. Oils such as peanut oil, vegetable oil, and sunflower oil, these can all increase inflammation levels. So peanut oil, vegetable oil, and sunflower oil, why do they even call it vegetable oil anyway? It's not made from vegetables. Avoid those things. Avoid most seed oils if you can. But extra virgin olive oil or even avocado oil, these are an excellent substitute for salad dressings or for cooking oils. These are healthy fats that are packed with those inflammation-fighting omega-3s, and they're heat stable as well, so you can cook with them and not damage them as much at a certain point. So extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, great for joints. Whole grains. Now, while the proteins in refined grains can trigger the body's inflammatory response, whole grains may help to counteract it. Grains recommended for reduced inflammation and joint pain include whole oats, rye, barley, and whole wheat. However, if you've tried everything and it's still not working, it's probably suggested that you take a time period away where you're not eating grains, no grains whatsoever, just to eliminate the possibility of not being able to tolerate them. Some people just can't tolerate them. A great substitute is actually another superfood called Himalayan tartar buckwheat. Himalayan tartar buckwheat, which actually isn't a grain at all. It's a seed. But interestingly, it's closer to the rhubarb and the sorrel family of vegetables than it is a wheat. It's great, and it's a healthy superfood substitution if you can't tolerate grains. Himalayan tartar buckwheat. Moving on to another whole food, root veggies and garlic. The aromatic root vegetables such as onions, garlic, turmeric, and ginger, these are all known for their anti-inflammatory properties. Garlic, onions, turmeric, and ginger. They can treat joint pain and other symptoms of arthritis. Root veggies and garlic can be added to meals for additional flavor while boosting joint health. That's a 2-for-1. Our household adds garlic and onions to almost everything. They're a great flavor punch to make any meal pop, and turmeric can be added to a ton of different dishes. We actually put turmeric in our morning mushroom coffee blend. My next one is my favorite one, dark chocolate. Yeah, dark chocolate. It's delicious and great for joint pain because, well, in a certain amount. You can't go crazy here. But because cocoa contains antioxidants that counteract inflammation, the key is to choose a dark chocolate with a high percentage of cacao, and to indulge in moderation. Of course, everything in moderation. Every single night, I look forward to a handful of blueberries and dark chocolate. It's like the greatest after dinner treat. It's a great substitution for all those late night, highly processed snacks that usually I crave when it gets late. The dark chocolate that I get is 95% cacao from a company called Lindt, Lindt. Really, really good stuff. On the other side, inflammatory foods that we want to avoid. If we're eating foods that help with inflammation, we want to avoid foods that cause inflammation. That just makes sense. Along with knowing which foods to add to your diet for healthier joints, it's also vital to know which ones to avoid. Certain foods can increase inflammation in your body and joint pain. Inflammatory foods that you should limit and steer clear from include, of course, highly processed, highly palatable foods. If you can't tell what food it came from just by looking at it, then it should be a red flag. Potato chips, snacks like Triscuits and chicken in a basket crackers or whatever those things are. Yeah, you have no idea the original food that they came from by just looking at them. Also, fried foods. Delicious, yes. Help us to get out of our joint pain? Not a chance. Does the opposite. Fried foods, limit to only those really special times. Maybe you are going to the fair with your family. Maybe it's a birthday thing where everyone's eating it and you don't want to have you be the only one not eating it. Whatever it is, there's times where you can eat every once in a while something that's not great for your goals. Just know that it's taking you away from your goals. You're filling up other buckets of health. Also, oils high in omega-6 fatty acids or saturated fats. Things like sunflower, safflower, soy, sesame, and corn oils. So our diet is made up of a lot of these omega-6 fatty acids, and it creates an imbalance in the balance between omega-3s and omega-6s. And we just have way too many omega-6s in our diet as it is. So limiting foods that have omega-6 fatty acids are really important here. Also, avoiding added sugar. Any excess sugar or refined carbohydrates added to food is going to be a no-go. Fruits are totally fine, right? Natural fruits, but fruit juice or anything easily metabolized and absorbed by the body with high sugar content, it's just really hard on our joints, plus hard on a lot of other things when it comes to our health. So avoid foods that cause inflammation if you can. Let's move on to the third study that he talked about in his newsletter. The third study has to do with MSM. The full name is methyl sulfonyl methylene. That is a mouthful. MSM powder. This is a sulfur-containing compound that's been shown to help treat arthritis by beneficially modulating the immune system, lowering inflammation, and preserving joint cartilage. In this particular study that we're sharing, 49 men and women between the ages of 45 and 90, they all had knee osteoarthritis, and they were randomly assigned to take just over a gram of this MSM powder. Or the other group got a placebo, and they did this 3 times a day for 12 weeks. 3 times a day, they either took MSM, about just a little over a gram, or they took a placebo, and they did this for 3 months. Participants were asked to complete a questionnaire to measure arthritis severity by rating a subset of symptoms. So it is a questionnaire, so it's a little subjective here, but still I think we can get some good stuff from it. They looked at symptoms like pain, stiffness, and actual function of the joint, and they used a pain rating scale. After 12 weeks, the MSM group's arthritis severity and pain score significantly improved compared to the placebo group. I'll attach links to all these studies that we talked about in the notes of this MEGAphone episode if you'd like to check out the studies and get the real nitty-gritty details and stats. And you can read the conclusions yourself if you'd like to. The last study that we want to talk about here is combining a few of the things that we've talked about so far. So this study combined glucosamine, chondroitin, and MSM. You've probably heard of supplementing with glucosamine chondroitin for joint pain because it can help lower inflammation and is a building block for making cartilage. But what happens when you combine it with MSM? Well, this particular clinical trial that we're sharing, they did that. Researchers set out to determine in a combination of glucosamine, chondroitin, and MSM, what that could provide and does it have additive effects for relieving joint pain and arthritis pain. And they did this in 147 patients with knee osteoarthritis, knee pain. Participants were randomly assigned to one of 3 different groups, and each group took their dose once daily for a full 3 months. So 3 different groups. One of them took all of the stuff, glucosamine, chondroitin, and MSM. The other group took just glucosamine, chondroitin. And then the third group obviously was the placebo group. They just took a placebo pill. The glucose, chondroitin, MSM group, the one that had it all, had significantly better osteoarthritis pain and severity scores compared to the group taking just glucosamine, chondroitin by itself, and of course the placebo group as well. Based on the available evidence, it looks like if you take all these things together, it's more effective. So glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM is more effective than just the glucosamine, chondroitin, or a placebo. There are many products online that combine all 3 of these compounds together. Just make sure that whichever ones you choose, you got to do a little research on the quality of the company. There are so many bad supplement companies out there. It's like the wild, wild west. It's very unregulated. But there are also some really good ones, some trustworthy companies that do the things that they say that they're doing. If you have personally worked with, or if you know a really good supplement resource that you trust, please let me know so that I can refer to them on this podcast. Okay, so now with the studies out of the way, here's the good stuff. Here's the important stuff. Here are some actionable things that you can do right now to start getting relief from your joint pain. This is the try this section that we were talking about earlier. Try this. Number 1, strength training exercises. Now I'm going to go over the exercises performed in the study, the first study that we talked about, so that you can try them out for yourself. But I'm also going to be posting a little table on Instagram at livinthedream_podcast. At livinthedream_podcast on Instagram, you'll find the post for the top strategies for relieving joint pain. And the table's going to be included if you just swipe over to the right. It's definitely a little more difficult to describe over audio. And if you don't really know anatomy, it's a little challenging to read the table. But it's something that if you have any questions on, reach out to me and I can help you out. The gold standard, of course, is to work with a trainer before beginning any type of exercise program to find out what exercises are best suited for you. So find a trainer, work with someone, maybe bring them the table and let them decipher how they should do the exercises with you. But start with 1 or 2 of these exercises and work your way up to maybe 3. Then after that, you can build up from there, build up some strength, and you can try adding in more. So number 1 is called the chair sitting isometric exercise for your thigh muscle. So sit in a chair, and then with your knees at 90 degrees, you're going to fully extend one of them and squeeze your thigh. So your leg is now sitting straight out in front of you, and you're squeezing your thigh, and you're just using the resistance of your own weight. That's a great way to start. Squeeze it for 10, 20 seconds and release, let it rest, and do it again for a couple of sets. Isometric exercises for the quadricep muscles. You could also sit with your knees extended, so out in front of you, you're sitting on the ground, contract the quadriceps muscle while elevating the heel just off the floor and trying to push your knee into the floor. So this one, you're sitting down on the ground, your legs are out in front of you, you're lifting your heel off the ground by squeezing your thigh muscle and contracting that quad while trying to drive the back of your knee into the floor. This is just giving the muscle in the most shortened position the ability to contract and squeeze. Another good one that you've probably done before is a glute bridge. So lying on your back with your feet pulled in close to you, flat on the floor, so your knees are bent. And then all you do is you drive your heels into the floor and you lift your hips off the ground and you squeeze and hold that hip bridge. This is going to strengthen the muscles on the back side of your body, your glutes, your hamstrings, even your calves, your low back. Really great exercise overall, especially for our society that sits a lot, but a glute bridge is a great exercise that you can do. And then once you're in that glute bridge, if you want to make it a little more challenging, you could lift and extend one leg straight while the other leg is single glute bridge driving into the floor. And now you can squeeze the thigh of the straight leg in the air and really drive that foot into the floor on the ground. And you could get a 2-for-1 on both sides of the body. Just make sure you switch sides if you do that. Another one would be if you sit in a chair and you work the inner thigh muscles. You could work the inner thigh muscles by putting a yoga block, or you could put your 2 fists in between your knees and you could try to squeeze that object between your knees as tightly as possible. Do it with an isometric goal of squeezing for 10 to 20 seconds, holding it, firing up those muscles of the inner thighs, and then releasing and resting, recovering, and then doing it again. You could do the same thing with your outer leg muscles, your outer thigh muscles, your abduction muscles. And you could do that by wrapping a towel around your legs, sitting on a chair, wrapping a towel around your knees and holding the middle of the towel, and now trying to drive out against that towel. You could also use a mini band here, but the mini band actually stretches, so that's not an isometric exercise anymore. You're actually doing exercises, but that one's a great exercise as well. So a mini band around the knees or a towel that you can't move against, that's also a great one for the outside of the hips. And then things like narrow squats, wide squats, hamstring exercises. If you have a TRX, you could do a TRX narrow squat. You could do a TRX hamstring curl. Great exercises for knee health. So I'll include a bunch more exercises in a table on the Instagram, put on the podcast Instagram, livingthedream_podcast. And if you'd just like me to send it to you in an email, let me know. You can message me and I'll send it to you. You can also try this. If you're looking to splurge, here are a few supplement recommendations based on the studies above. Now remember, whole foods is almost always better. But if you're looking to splurge and you got an extra spending cash and you want to supplement, number one, collagen option. If you're interested in general collagen supplement, Dhru recommends Ancient Nutrition grass-fed multi-collagen supplement. I'll include a link in the description of this podcast. This is the kind that he takes, and he will often add it to his smoothies or his morning coffee. It contains collagen types 1, 2, 3, 4, and 10. So you can get the benefits of multiple different types of collagen. And it's called Ancient Nutrition Grass-Fed Multi-Collagen. Collagen number 2 option, if you want to focus on just type 2 collagen, specifically for supporting your joint health, the one that Dhru takes is called Metagenics Osteo Vanity. Metagenics Osteo Vanity. This is an excellent option for an easy-to-take supplement for type 2 collagen. Another one that you could take is the glucosamine chondroitin supplement. And again, that study says that combined with MSM, it's a higher quality. So you could take those. I'll include a link to a couple of those that Dhru suggests. And then he also suggests Pure Encapsulations MSM capsules. And I'll include a link. If you're looking for an MSM supplement, he highly recommends this brand. He uses it when he's dealing with chronic knee pain, and he was super impressed by how much of an impact that this particular supplement made. Pure Encapsulations MSM capsules. When friends and family ask him what they should take for joint pain, these are his go-to recommendations. So try pairing MSM with glucosamine chondroitin for added joint pain relief, and let us know what you experience. I'd love to know if it helped or if it didn't help. Concluding thoughts would be, there are so many people out there who are silently suffering from joint pain and just think that it's just a part of getting older. But really, it doesn't have to be that way. There are things that we can start doing today to prevent and reverse the weakening of our joints, starting with the power of movement. You know that we say that all the time. Movement is life. The more proactive we are, the sooner that we can get to the root of the issue and protect our joints from arthritis, from pain, from fractures as we get older. We have to stop blaming our age. We have to stop making excuses. And we have to stop settling and living your life in pain. The more pain that we're in, the less likely we are to use that particular part of our body. And the more that we don't use it, the more it deteriorates and we lose it. You are in control. Arm yourself with the knowledge like you just did today and use it. Implement it into your life to make your life better. Here's to you and your joint health and your relief from pain. And that's sincerely Dhru Purohit, and of course, me as well, Coach D. P.S. A lot of chronic joint pain can be attributed to the fact that our modern day shoes have totally messed up our feet. And I couldn't even get into that on this one because that's a whole entire different subject. Your feet, those shoes that you wear, this can have a cascading effect that travels up the kinetic chain right into our knee joints, who usually take the brunt of the force. If you want to learn more about the science of foot strength, check out the masterclass episode that we did on why foot health is so important, and we broke down the history of shoes. We talk about how the foot and the ankle are one of the huge key components to alleviating knee pain. I'll include the link in the notes of that episode in this MEGAphone episode. Check out all the links that we talked about there. And that's it, my friends, for this week's MEGAphone episode. Each week, we're going to focus on sharing information that will help you with your health, fitness, and wellness journey. Share the knowledge that you gained with your friends, your family, and hold each other accountable. If you enjoyed this content, it helps us a ton. If you could post on your social media a screenshot of this episode and include one takeaway, one thing that you learned, and then make sure you tag me and share your journey. Tag me at livingthedream_podcast or at coachdamian_SD. And let us know how this episode benefited you. Let's get more people on this lifelong learner train and join the Livin the Dream team. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that will help your Livin the Dream team that we can discuss on future episodes. I will be right here with you working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.